to our great fortune, Hashem kept it for him. But that's a pretty broad thing to say, you know. But Reb Zusha was very, very pashtus guy, you know. And so he said it with an absolute pashtus and a pshitas. And the elders of the city, they were makabel, you know. They said, you know, this guy is a very holy man, and we can pretty much rely on what he said. So ask yourself the question. So the simple pshat is that where you have a very great person like Reb Zusha in your midst, then he has an effect. Yeah, and how do you call it? Improper or not good things don't happen. If only good things happen, not bad things happen. Now there's numerous stories to this effect, but just to give you another example of this, the Gemara tells us in Masechta Tainis. You heard of Rabbi Nochem Ish Gamzu. You heard about him. He's buried over here in the south, you know, in the street. You guys ever been to his cave?
No.
It's down here in the street. Yeah.
Wow.
Rabbi Nochem Ish Gamzu, he was a very great person. Rabbi Akiva learned by him. Rabbi Akiva was Mashamish Nochem Ish Gamzu for about 10 years. Yeah. Very, very, he was a very great man, Rabbi Nochem Ish Gamzu.
Is it true he didn't have any...
What happened to Beryl?
He's coming back. I don't know.
Is a Mela?
Top of the water bottle, there's a cup. Top of the water bottle.
What's the problem?
Coffee. He wants a coffee.
Oh, a Mela? Rabbi Nochem Ish Gamzu was a very great man. So you've heard the story of what happened to him, how he became ill and he passed away. You know the story.
The sin.
Oh yeah, and this is so famous that the Beis Yosef in his Shulchan Aruch actually quotes the story, and great authorities say that this is the one halakha where the Beis Yosef actually tells the story. In the whole Shulchan Aruch, the Beis Yosef, it's only halakha, it's no story. But this time he tells the story. So once Reb Nochem Ish Gamzu had been on a journey with his donkey, and he gets home, and he's got to unload the donkey before he goes into the house. All of a sudden there comes up a poor man, a really poor man, and he says to Reb Nochem Ish Gamzu, he says, Parnaseni, you know, give me something, I need parnas, you know, I'm going out, you know, I don't have anything, Parnaseni, yeah. So, you know what Reb Nochem Ish Gamzu said to him? He said, just wait a sec, I'm just in the middle of pulling off the things off my donkey, in 2 seconds I'll be right with you. And he sort of went like that to him, just wait a sec, you follow? So Reb Nochem Ish Gamzu turns back to his donkey, and in the meantime the Oni dropped dead. You know the story. Yeah, the Oni dropped dead. So Reb Nochem Ish Gamzu saw that, and he said, wow, if I would have just given him at that moment, maybe I might have saved his life. I could have given him a fruit or a piece of, you know, I could have done something, but I turned to my donkey first. So they say that because of that, Reb Nochem Ish Gamzu took on himself Yisurim. That's what they call Kabbalah Yisurim, not just Stam, but he took on himself that he should suffer, to be mechaper for the fact that he hadn't saved this guy's life. You follow? So that's how he passed away. You know, he had so many Yisurim that Hashem sent him Yisurim, and he passed away. But he was, before he passed away, he was in very bad condition. He was laying in bed, on the bed, and he couldn't move. And he was a poor person, so he only had this little sort of like hut that was where he lived. And it was shaking, you know. So came I think it was Rabbi Yossi Aglili or Rabbi Akiva himself, I can't remember exactly who it was. They came to visit him, you know, to see what's happening. And they see him laying, you know, in a terrible situation, and the whole house is, you know, shaking. So whoever it was says to Nahum comes, we have to get you out of here quick, you know. So you know what Nahum Gamzu said to him? He said, as long as I am here, this house is not going to fall. As long as I'm here, even though I'm, you know, I'm powerless because of all the suffering, he said, but as long as I'm inside this house, it's not going to fall. So, you know, the guy was very impressed with that. So he, in the meantime, went to get some medical help and try and help. He was promised that the house is not going to fall, you know. So you know what happened? The Gemara tells that they eventually decided they're going to move Reb Nachum, and he didn't live very long afterwards, but they did move him out of the house. The regular that they moved him out of the house, they hadn't even got to the cart or whatever, or truck. The whole house collapsed. Of a Koloid, the Reb Nachum Gams, who was inside there, didn't collapse.
Wow. Wow.
Interesting, eh?
Mm-hmm.
There's another similar story about the Rebbe Rayatz. You know, the Rebbe Rayatz was in Warsaw when the Nazis started bombing. You know, the Rebbe Rayatz got out of Warsaw on the last plane that left before complete takeover of the Nazis and complete destruction of most of Poland. The Rebbe Rayatz got out. And you know the famous story, that there was a German officer, a Nazi, Yamach Shemoy, that he signed the piece of paper that allowed the Rebbe to get up on the plane. Yeah, it's an amazing story, yeah. A Nazi, he himself signed the paper. But it's not a place to go into the whole thing now. But whatever. And there were bombs were falling the whole time, and all around, all the buildings were destroyed. But where the Rebbe Rayatz was, together with his mother and some other people that were inside there, you know, there was the Rebbe Rashev's, Rebbetzin. The bombs fell all around, but didn't actually hit the house. When the Rebbe left, and he was specially transported by a car, that's where this German officer came in. They claimed it was actually a German army car that took him. Yeah, Adkari car. Anyway, whatever, shortly after, when the Rebbe's driving towards the plane, a bomb came down and finished the whole house. Of a colloid that the Rebbe was there, all round fell bombs, you know, of a... Yeah, pretty amazing. וכך, יש הרבה סיפורים מסוג זה. And I just want to tell you, you guys, you should know about these things. You ever heard of Rabbi Aaron HaGodel? You heard about Rabbi Aaron HaGodel? The Rabbi Kalina, the first of all the Kalina, he was called Rabbi Aaron HaGodel, Rabbi Aaron Kalina. He was the most amazing tzaddik. So he was a big Talmud of the Maggid, and the Maggid held from him tremendously. So he was amongst the first Talmidim at the Maggid that they started off Mivtzoim. Have you ever heard of Mivtzoim?
Mivtzoim?
What was the Mivtzoim? The Maggid sent him around in order to make new Talmidim for the Derech of the Baal Shem Tov. So he used to travel around a lot, this Reb Aaron HaGodel, and he used to make, you know, new Talmidim for the Maggid. Oh, but these guys were big Talmidei Chachomim and Oidei Hashem, and he turned them into followers of the Baal Shem Tov. However, the very fact that Reb Aaron came to a certain place, there occurred all sorts of Bali Tshuva. People used to just take a look at him, and they would all of a sudden decide they want to do tshuva. That was the story. Yeah. Oh yeah. And he had a most amazing effect wherever he went. If he went into a shul and that, it was very unusual for him to leave the shul without there being at least one Baal Tshuva amongst the...
Well, what about you?
They just saw him and they would come running and say, Rebbe, you have to give me a tikkun, you know, you have to help me. You have to do this, you know. There are many stories, but I can't go into it all now. So we see that wherever a really great person who really means this, and he really means with emes, you know, and he's all in his Avedus Hashem, and he's all in his caring about Hashem and about Yidden, then he has a very powerful effect. So let's say he could use that, but he doesn't for some reason. That's not a very nice thing, is it? That he would be Moneya. Who knows what unpleasant things might happen. You follow? So they tell, there was another, you guys have heard the Rebbe Melizhensky, you heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
So he had a, I think it was his son-in-law. Well, his son-in-law, but his son-in-law was a big rov. He had paskin shaylas in a certain town. And he became the rov, and he was the rov for about 30 years in this town before his stalkers. So they tell a story that he told somebody that almost the whole time since he became the rov, right up before, just before his stalkers, there were no shilas. Nobody came with shilas. So you might say, well, you know, that's, you know, they tell a story in modern times that there was a Chabad guy that he became a rov in a certain town, and after about 2 years, he resigned, and he said he's leaving, he can't be a rov here anymore. Why? Because nobody asked him any shilas. So over there, the question is, why didn't people ask him shilas? That's the question, because you know, they didn't care much about Yiddishkeit anyway. Over here, they did. These are, you know, this was a big town where he was the rov. Over Meira, there was no shilas of chometz for Pesach ever, the whole 30 years, and there was no people murdered or anything like that, chas v'sholem, shum dover, and there were also other questions, even to do with taruvas. You know, you guys are learning. I think you've learned Hilchos Taruvas. You know. Boss of a novel boss of a there was never any questions. I say it's brought down. So people say, you know, what did he do the whole time? Yeah, he just he davened and he did. And what did he do? He brought down a lot of brachas for the town where he was the how do you call it? He was the spiritual leader, and he brought down a lot of brachas for everybody, but nobody ever asked him any shilas. So towards it, before he passed away, they said to him, listen man, why is it that nobody ever comes to your house with any questions? And he said, I'll have to tell you the truth. He said, since I'm the rov here, and I look after this town, he said, Hashem doesn't allow that anything improper will happen. You follow? He said, therefore, I don't answer any questions. All I do is bring down a lot of shefa eloki. I bring down, how do you call it? Shefa eloki into this town. What do you say to that? Oh, my lad, come to Islofi said that a very positive person who really means business, he has a big effect, you know, where he is, and he's mamshik a lot of shefa eloki, and he avoids improper things happening. And there's many, I could go into, many stories. And there's another big p.2 that also, he said to somebody, as long as I'm here, that's not going to happen. There was something that they were worried about. And he said, as long as I'm here, that's not going to happen. So you might say, well, that's pretty big talk. But he meant it with the truth. He meant it be'emes. Aber mele de emes is the emes, and that's the Matthias. Aber mele, now we can, if we go according to that, then we can understand the kasha of we can answer the kasha of the Marami Prague on what Rashi says in the second pshat. That he says it's not fair that the Kohen Gadol should have to suffer. What did the Kohen Gadol do, Why should he have to suffer? So comes along Rashi. Rashi, with his beautiful language, Rashi gets that out of the picture. Rashi says you should have prayed. If just your very being there is not enough, at least pray. At least make a rush that nothing improper should happen. Oh, it did happen. Is a simon that
He's doing a good enough job.
and he could. That's your problem. You have a certain achrayut, not just certain, but you have a real achrayut. If you'd have been doing what you're really supposed to do, and what is a Kohen Gadol really supposed to do? He's supposed to bring laharit yamehem, like he said in the first chapter. He's supposed to bring down all sorts of good zachen, You know what good zachen is?
Good things.
Yeah? He has to bring all sorts of good zachen and shefa eloki into the world. Oh man, the bad things don't have any place. They're not going to happen. Hashem's not going to make it that a yid ever ad kedi kach a mistake that he killed somebody b'shgoga. Now it's brought down in Siddur. Beklal, since he didn't mean it, why beklal does he have to go into God? What's beklal the problem? So the answer is that if he had worked on himself the way a yid is expected to, then that wouldn't have happened. And due to the fact that his nefesh abami is too much of a boss by him, therefore an unpleasant thing like that can happen to him. Or with somebody who really works hard on his nefesh abami, that wouldn't happen. And therefore, it's a sign that he needs a kapara. As it's brought down and said. Why is it there's no fixed SHIUR? Because not everybody's nefesh abamis is the same thing. Not everybody has the same problems with their nefesh abamis. It depends. Some people more, some less. It definitely need more or less, time to be matagen. The whole thing. And therefore it's brought down in the Sefer Achinot. What's a guy sitting in the Ira Miklot? What is he supposed to be doing? He's supposed to be thinking into his mind the whole time, what am I doing here? Even though the Torah looks after him, that it's brought down that a lot of things that he had in his own town, you have to give him when he's in the Ira Miklot. And it's brought down that if he was a Rav and he has Talmidim, then you have to make his Talmidim learn over there in the Ira Miklot with him to get all sorts of good zachen that he's able to have, But nonetheless, the Sefer Chinuch says, not to be in your own place, you don't feel good, And particularly if you were told to go there. Maybe if you chose to go there yourself, but you have to go there. Well, that's a very painful thing for a person. So he has to think to himself, what am I going through all this for? He has to come to a tikkun of his nefesh abami. Well, the whole thing is sort of, getting an interesting sort of thing. So what I want to do now, you say, well, the whole time this guy tells us stories. So I want to tell you a story that happened with me. That I was once in Kfar Chabad in the early years before I began working in the yeshiva. I'm going back now. well over 45 years. 45, 50 years. And the old Rav in Chabad was called a Rav Shneur Gorelik, and he lived in a big house, and he was the Rav of the Kvar. And I got a certain answer from the Rebbe, which I don't want to go into to make the story too long. I could tell you about it, but I can't sort of go into everything. And the people in the yeshiva, this was before I began working, they say they want to discuss this and they want to ask the Rav of the Kvar what he, and let's see what he paskins about. So we agreed that we would all meet together. I would come and they would be present, and we would ask the Rav of the Kvar. Okay, so we get there, and I got there a bit early, and the Rav of the Kvar, he had like a sort of how do you call it, a din Torah. He had some people in there that they were, asking him a question, they were tining with him, and he was answering them. And we're out on the balcony, we're next in line. They were waiting for him to finish with these guys, and then we'll go in. In those days I could hear Ein Rock better than what I can hear now. So I could hear what he was saying, because it was summertime, and the windows were open. So I could hear what he was saying to them. So you know what he said? These guys said that they don't think it's so terrible that, we could do this in Kfar Chabad. What's wrong if we did this and this thing? There's places in Halacha that you can make it mutar, and it's not all that terrible. And so you know what he answered them, the Rav? I heard what he said. He said, Chsidim zen kohanim. He said, Chsidim are like the kohanim of the whole Jewish people. Oh yeah, that's what he said. And he said, you know what he said to these guys? He said, a kohen, I understood Yiddish already by then. And he said, a kohen to kein grusha nit neman. He said, a kohen's not allowed to marry a grusha. So he said, what's wrong with a grusha? She lost her husband, or, they didn't get on. So, nothing wrong with her, maybe. What's wrong? He said, a kohen, Tonish Neman, that's what's got the smallest, sort of question about it, a kohen. And he said, Un zenem kohanim. He said, we are kohanim. So he said, well, I'm not going to allow in my village something that's not 100%. He said, ich will es tun, Kfar Chabad soll sein 100%. Not just, Efshar hatir, we can make it mutar. That's what I heard. I'm sitting outside, wait a minute. That's what I heard, the Rav. And that's stuck in my memory to this day. Wow. You see, Ashkocha Proteus. Basically, I had to heard. But what did he say? He said that Chsidim are kohanim. Now, that's a very profound idea. So he said a chosid can't get married, a kohen can't get married to something that's got a slight sort of a question, It's not for him. So I asked the question, what a chsidim? So he said, chsidim are kohanim. So that means we have a responsibility to our whole sviva. And we are not allowed, how do you call it, to give in on, where other people might say, what does it really matter,
So we can't do that, yeah.
Go to the movies.
Have to, stand firm, confidently, and besimcha. You're allowed to be a marshcher, you know that. But, you have to always be, but you got to stand firm. So, if you take the Rebbe from about Membeis and further, the Rebbe started giving out dollars, on Sunday morning. Now the Rebbe would stand for hours. There were some Sunday mornings where the Rebbe stood for over 7 hours. You realize what you stand on your feet, and the whole time you're giving dollars to people. Yeah, and the Rebbe was already not a young man at that stage. by any stretch of the... And the Rebbe would lean slightly on his standard, and the whole time then there'd be Rabbanim and other people come and he'd say, he'd give them dollars, and all sorts of amazing things happen, you know, Nebuahs and all those amazing things. So I saw the shadow. The Rebbe's time was tremendously valuable, you know. Every minute was just a huge masechta, you know. And here he is standing 7 hours giving dollars to people, you know. But, you know, what is that? You know, get somebody to stand and say, this is a gift from the Lubavitcher, and put a stamp on it or something, you know. And somebody else will stand and give all the people the dollars, and they say, this is from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. You know. No, the Rebbe stood personally and gave everybody. You know, what is he? You know, what is he up to? Yeah, Elamai, the Rebbe was the Kohen Gadol, you understand? And the Rebbe wanted to bring only good things into the world, and that this person would get the dollar, he would become also a bit of a Kohen, you know, he would become also a bit changed, and he would go and he would spread goodness and further goodness and further goodness. If I mean, it would be less likely that unpleasant things should happen. And I could be married about that. I could go into considerable length about, you might say, well, certain unpleasant things did happen, but I could prove that nonetheless my case still holds water despite that. But I just haven't got the time now to go into all the details. But I could establish my case. However, what does that mean for us? You know, what has it got to teach? We are the Kohenim. So you might say, well, I'm not a Kohen Gadol. I'm a Kohen, but I'm not a Kohen Gadol, you know. So you can't get out of it. You are a Kohen Gadol also. Because it's written, it's brought down as a medrash, and it's brought down in Pnimis HaTorah, in certain works connected with the Zohar HaKodesh, that by Matan Torah, all the Yidden were like Kohenim Gedolim. It's written, "V'hayisem li zgula mikol ha'im, v'atem tiyu li mamleches kohanim." Yeah, that's what's written in the Torah, mamleches kohanim. So whether you want it or not, you're a Yid, you are part of the kingdom of priests. Comes along to Sefer Chinuch, and he brings this matter, and he said, not they were priests, just priests, they were Kohenim Gedolim. In other words, if you're talking about a Yid and you're making him into a Kohen, a Yid is going to say he's a Kohen Gadol. And you might say, oh, well, come on, stop. No, that's a good thing. If you want to be something big, Hashem will help you to be it. And he will help you to be it in the right way. Yeah. Oh, Yidden all became Kohenim Gedolim, Yidden, Beklal. So how much more so Chassidim? They're for sure Kohenim Gedolim. Every chassid is a Kohen Gadol. Now remember, what does Rashi say? Rashi says you have a responsibility. You being a Kohen Gadol, you've got to make sure that only good things happen in your particular little circle, you know, whatever. Might be a bigger circle, might be less, you know. But there's going to be unpleasant things happen, not good things and so on. So then there's going to be like a question, you know, Lama lo manatet, why didn't you prevent this? You know, you could have, if you would have really prayed, then you could have prevented this. You follow? So to a certain extent, as the old saying, you've got to put up with it. And so what does that mean? That means that the more responsibility you get, the more, you know, you've copped it. You know, how's the old saying? In Pirkei Avos, it's not an old saying. Moishiv, Deya, how's it written? Moishiv Das, Moishiv Daigo. Yoshiv Deya, Yoshiv Daigo. The more you know and the more you're into something, the more you get worried, you know, the more responsibility you have. So that's part of the deal of becoming a chassid, is you've got to realize you have a responsibility, and you've got to show light. You've got to make good things happen. And I remember I had a mashpia, I told you about it, Rababa. Whenever he came, people just sort of felt good, you know. He was just a little fellow. He was tremendously.
What was his name?
Rababa Pleshin. You didn't know your father.